Hey, Smarter News, we're going to cover a little bit of everything today, from the border to what you should throw away in your refrigerator, and love, sweet love, what makes a successful marriage. A little bit of everything. And this is our sampler on a Thursday. So we'll pick a couple headlines, tell you why they matter, and get you moving. So first story I want to talk to you about is what's happening at the U.S. southern border and what we actually don't know. What we've been waiting for is really important data. And let me explain why. Every month, we get a picture of what happened at the U.S. southern border for the previous month. So now that we're in October, we'll get the data for September. And this is really critical because the government's fiscal year goes from October to the end of September. So not only are we awaiting the data for September, but we're going to get the data for the entire year overall. And we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for it. It's coming later and later, and we still haven't seen it yet. We are seeing reports in different media outlets like the Washington Post that says that they were able to obtain the data early, and it's showing the highest number of border apprehensions in modern data collection. We expect a historic pace. We've seen that for the last several months, but we really want to get our hands on the number to understand what is the picture happening at the U.S. southern border. How many people are we really talking about who have been apprehended? Because you're hearing a lot of different descriptions from different political angles about this story. And this story also has a lot of tentacles. This is why it's so important, why I pay attention to it, because there's an economic angle to it. There's a political angle to it. There's a humanitarian angle to it. And it's all mixed up in this story about national identity. So I want you to be aware that we're awaiting it. By the time you see this video, maybe it's the data has dropped. And when it does, I'm going to detail it for you. Until then, I'm going to wait, because there's a way to make these numbers do acrobatics. And I want to see the raw data for ourselves so that I can really lay it out for you and bullet point it. In the meantime, Customs and Border Protection, their job, of course, is the border, but they also do a lot of stuff that you may not even think about. And I want to show you this because this got my attention. I've been looking at their press releases so much because I'm awaiting these numbers. And so you kind of stumble on interesting stories. These are fake Chanel earrings. They were coming from the Middle East. They were going to Little Rock, Arkansas. And Customs and Border Protection says if they use the current retail value for what these earrings actually cost, these knockoffs would be about nearly $2 million of knockoff jewelry that they were able to collect. So they're not looking just at these, what we often see in the headlines, but they're also looking at counterfeit goods, for example, things that are illegally coming into the country. Trade is also an issue. And so when I saw this story, I wanted to make sure that you were aware of it as well. Kind of broadens our horizon beyond just focus on the southern border. When we're talking about the movement of goods and people, that is a big story that we've talked about regarding supply chains, but it's also a big story for ways that you don't even think about, like what you're eating on a regular basis. And the CDC just issued an alert for salmonella they believe is linked to onions, and actually all sorts of onions. So if you have anything that looks like this in your refrigerator, or you're at a restaurant and there's onions on the menu, or something can come with onions, words to the wise, the CDC actually wants you to throw them out or not eat them. And here's an interesting fact. Did you know that onions can be refrigerated or kept in a freezer for like 3 months? So even though they've stopped importing these items, these onions that are linked to the salmonella outbreak are actually from Mexico, they still could be out there. And so I tend to keep onions for a really long time. So I just wanted to make you aware of this. The salmonella cases are found all over the country right now. At last check, more than 37 states. You have hundreds of people sick, and you have more than 120 people hospitalized. This hits close to home because some of you might remember my toddler was diagnosed with salmonella just a couple months ago. He wasn't eating onions, but it was very unexpected, and he was very sick, and we're lucky he didn't go to the hospital, but it was a whole treatment regime, and you want to avoid that. So I wanted to make sure to flag that for you. Okay, another story you might see this week was a story out of Pennsylvania, and it was a really scary headline, but we can take this scary headline and actually look at some new research about it. So the headline is that there was a woman attacked on a train in Philadelphia. And this attack went on for a long time. Estimates are like 40 minutes. And according to police, there were bystanders and witnesses, and no one did anything. In fact, what people did instead, according to surveillance video, is held up their cell phones. Now, we don't know who these people are, how many people are involved. We don't know exactly what was going on with the attack, why someone would choose to film it rather than intervene. So there's some details that we don't know about it, but it got us thinking about the bystander effect. This is something that has been discussed related to news stories before about what makes people actually get involved and help someone versus just stand on the sidelines. And some new research is actually suggesting that despite what we think about bystander effect, which is that if more people are around, we're actually less likely to do something because we think somebody else is going to do it or that we'll be judged so that we don't do it. This new study looked at surveillance cameras from many different countries all over the world, different areas. And what they looked at is like, if there was a crime, like, did someone actually do something? So it was looking at real life data. And what they found is that people actually, in most cases, did step forward. That it wasn't necessarily what they thought, that we're just going to kind of look around and wait for someone else to do something. There was a lot more hopeful news on that. So a scary headline, but new research is suggesting that when, in most cases, the majority of cases, not only did someone step forward, but several people step forward to help a stranger. And so I liked looking at those stories together, a great contribution by one of our writers that linked them. So I want you to check that out. We have that on our website, so we'll have more on that. Final story today is we get to love, because I think we should. I'm sure some of you have seen this big story on social media. I mean, how can you miss this? I mean, how can you miss this? Kourtney Kardashian, Travis Barker, engaged. And I like listen, I like celebrity news, and I like trying to find a smarter angle to celebrity news. So when I see stories about love and marriage and divorce and all the things, I want to give you a smarter angle. So Travis and Kourtney are in their 40s. And so what is the sweet spot for getting married? Like, when you're older, would that lead to a more successful marriage? If you're younger, what does that mean? Turns out, according to some research, there is kind of a Goldilocks effect between the ages of 25 and about 32. We saw previous research that said 25 to like 35. But apparently in that time frame, you tend to have the best success for marriage. If you get married earlier or you get married later, you have less success, according to the data. However, as we're looking at this photo, chemistry also matters, doesn't it? Not just age, but chemistry. And I don't know about you guys. I think these guys got some chemistry. So I think they're going to be just fine. There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal. I think I'm going to tuck it into our newsletter that's talking about how people feel schlubby. And that's affecting their love life. Schlubby. Yeah, schlubby. Yeah, schlubby. So yeah, some interesting observations there about how we all might be feeling. But I don't think these two are feeling schlubby. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Kardashians? You know what? I like the Kardashians. And as a businesswoman now, I mean, I can really appreciate the Kardashians. I think the Kardashians would really like Smarter News because they're busy and they need quick information. Don't you think? I'd like Kim to come on. I want to talk to her about her law career. And I want to talk to her about supply chain information because they've been able to build Skims, a successful retail company. They've exploded it during the pandemic and accelerated where others had tough times. So what do you guys think? I think we should invite the Kardashians on Smarter News. Don't you think that would be great? They have so much to talk to you about. I think they'd love it. I think we'd like them. I think the whole thing could be great. All right, we'll work on it. Questions and comments on any of these stories, please let me know. I always love to hear from you guys. And we have all of them and more on smarternews.com. And as soon as I get the border numbers, of course, we will break them down and I will bring them to you. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.